The app is not really the point. That might sound strange because, yes, I am building an app, a real one. I test it on my phone. I break it. I give feedback. I send changes back through the system. The app matters. But the more interesting thing is not the app itself. The more interesting thing is the harness around it. Blueprint AppHarness is the workflow structure I wish I had when I started trying to build software with AI. Because when people talk about AI coding, they usually make it sound like one of two things. Either it is magic, where you type one sentence and an app appears, or it is still basically traditional coding, where you are wired to a terminal, reading logs, managing files, and trying to understand what a coding agent just did. My experience has been different. The breakthrough for me was realizing that there are really two different worlds involved. On one side, there is ChatGPT. That is the side I can live in as a non-coder. I can talk, I can explain what I want, I can describe what feels wrong, I can paste in updates from coding agents and ask, what does this actually mean? I can take a messy product idea and turn it into a clearer requirement, a mock-up, a bug report, or a next instruction. ChatGPT is the translator. It cuts through the noise, and that matters. Because once you start using AI coding agents seriously, the noise gets overwhelming very fast. You might have 5 agents working, or 8, or 12. Each one has context. Each one has its own job. Each one is producing updates, logs, claims, problems, decisions, and questions. If I had to personally hold all of that in my head, the system would collapse. I know that because I tried. At one point, I had a bunch of AI coding sessions running at the same time, and I thought more agents would automatically mean more progress. But it did not work that way. The bottleneck became me. The switching cost was too high. The cognitive load was too high. I was spending too much energy just trying to understand what was happening. That is where ChatGPT became the funnel. Instead of me trying to mentally manage every agent directly, I used ChatGPT to interpret the work, compress the updates, clarify the decisions, and help me stay focused on the product. Not the terminal, not the logs, not every technical detail, the product. But ChatGPT by itself is not enough. Because at some point, somebody or something has to actually build the software. That is the other side of the system. Underneath the harness is a real coding environment. Claude Code, terminal sessions, WSL, Zellage, GitHub, real project files, real builds. That environment gives the agents more power. They can work with persistent context. They can keep track of what they are doing. They can open and close sessions. They can run commands. They can inspect the project. They can make changes in a way that is much closer to a real development workflow. That part is powerful, but it is also not where I want to spend all my time. I do not want my life to become sitting behind a terminal for hours every night, trying to babysit agents line by line. I have done versions of that. I have tried Cursor. I have tried working more directly in the terminal. I have tried pushing myself closer and closer to the code. And what I realized is that the best place for me is not buried inside the code. The best place for me is at the product layer. I need to be able to say what I want. I need to review what came back. I need to test it on a real device. I need to catch what feels wrong. I need to make the decisions that only the person closest to the problem can make. That is what AppHarness is built around. It is the bridge between the owner conversation and the coding environment. On one side, I can use ChatGPT in plain English. On the other side, there is a serious build setup where agents can actually do the work. The harness connects those two things so the owner does not get lost in the middle, and this is where it gets really interesting. The harness is not only generative AI, it is not just a chatbot. There is a mix of deterministic structure and generative flexibility. Some parts of the system are designed to happen in a repeatable way. Feedback needs to be captured, work needs to be routed, builds need to be tested. claims need to come back with proof. The owner needs to approve or reject what happened. Those parts should not depend on vibes, but other parts are creative. The mock-ups, the product thinking, the way you talk through a feature, the way you discover what you actually meant after seeing the first version. That part needs room to evolve. That combination is the harness. Structure where you need reliability, AI where you need translation, creativity, and speed. The best way I can explain it is this. AppHarness is the system I wish existed a year ago. If a new user came into it, the point would not be, here is my app, go copy it. The point would be, here is a harness for building your app. You would onboard into your own project. You would define what you are trying to make. You would use ChatGPT to clarify your product intent. You would build mock-ups. You would create your own agents. You would stand up your own workflow. You would test your own app. You would give your own plain English feedback. The harness gives you the reusable structure around that process. It is the skills, the scripts, the patterns, the feedback loops, the owner review habits, and the agent workflow that can transfer from one project to another. That is why I do not think of this as just another no-code platform. A lot of tools promise to let you build an app, but you are still building inside their box, on their terms, with their limits. AppHarness is different in spirit. It is built around standard tools and an owner-directed workflow. ChatGPT is the translator. The coding environment is the workbench. The harness is the structure that lets those pieces work together, and the practical effect is huge. I do not need to disappear into a coding cave for 8 hours. A lot of my work now happens in natural passes throughout the day. I can hit the system in the morning with a coffee, I can check progress later, I can give feedback from my phone, I can review what changed after work, I can do another focus session at night. The agents can keep working through technical tasks that take time anyway, and I can stay involved at the level where I am most useful. That is the key. The harness lowers the cognitive load. It does not remove responsibility. It does not make the owner passive. It does not mean the AI runs off and builds whatever it wants. It means the owner can stay in control without personally carrying every technical detail in their head. That is what makes this powerful for non-coders, product owners, domain experts, creators, coaches, founders, and anyone else who deeply understands a problem but does not want to start from a blank code base. Because the person closest to the problem should be able to shape the software that solves it. That is the whole idea behind Blueprint AppHarness. It is early, it is experimental, it is rough in places. I am still improving it constantly. Blueprint AppHarness is public now. It is a free GitHub project that you can download, inspect, test, break, adapt, and build on. The harness itself is free. The real cost comes from the tools you choose to run around it. Things like AI coding tools, model subscriptions, cloud services, hosting, build tools, and whatever setup your own project needs. But the point of the harness is to reduce the barrier to getting started. For non-coders, you do not have to figure out the entire stack from scratch. I am building this around suggested setups and walkthroughs so you can see how the pieces fit together. You can use the same kind of stack I am using to build Flutter apps, or you can adapt the harness around your own project and your own tools over time. It is not a finished app in a box. It is a reusable starting point for owner-directed AI app development. ChatGPT as the translator, AI coding tools as the builders, and you still in control of the product. This is also meant to be collaborative. If you are technical, curious, or building something similar, you can look through the project, test it, suggest improvements, open issues, or contribute through GitHub. I'll be doing more videos walking through the actual harness, the setup, the suggested stacks, how I use it day to day, and how the pieces fit together for a non-coder trying to build real software without starting from zero. The GitHub link is in the description. If this kind of work interests you, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and follow along as I keep building this in public. And if you want to support the project and help make more of this content possible, you can support us on Patreon as well. I am not just building an app with AI, I am building the harness that helps people build their own apps with AI while staying in the driver's seat. Thanks for watching. More soon.